before I started my career, I was always of the opinion that, I won't work for anybody. I thought I
Okay.
had to figure it all out. Before design, I worked as a front-end developer. I had the coding skills, I had the design skills, and in my head, I just thought, you know what, you will just go out there, you will build your own product, you will start your own company, and it's going to be smooth sailing. Right. So this is something I really
Yeah.
thought. That's why I never actually saw myself working a 9 to 5, right? Or being not a business owner, you know. But then when I now got out there and got into the world, I saw that it was not as easy, you know, as I thought it was. There are some things that maybe back then when I was in school, you're working on a project, you're thinking it's so small scale
Mhm.
until when you now go out in public and you realize that you thought you knew things, you didn't know anything, right? The realization to just understand that there's a lot more that's involved in literally upskilling and growing, because I thought it was just going to be about having the skill.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Tales with Fola. And on this podcast, we dive into the rich stories behind tech careers, the wins, the struggle, and everything in between. And I'm your host today. My name is Fola Shide Adegbite. And today we're getting real about something I feel that we have all experienced at some point in our career. And I think that people really talk about failures or failing in your journey. So today I'm excited to have Ikenna Osueze. I call him Ike. So calling him Ikenna is kind of strange. Ikenna Osueze is currently the Senior Vice President of Sales at Fincra. Welcome, Ike, our SVP Sales. Good to have you here. So before we officially start this conversation, I want to quickly read Ikenna's bio. Ikenna Osueze is a seasoned product and design leader with a proven track record of driving innovation, scaling high performing teams, also enhancing user experience in fintech and healthcare industry. As the current SVP of sales at Fincra, it leads revenue generation efforts, expanding market reach, and also positioning Fincra as a dominant player in Africa payment infrastructure space. Wow, that's interesting. Previously, before this role, Kena served as head of design at Fincra. His leadership at Reliance Health as a design director saw him implementing user-centric strategies that transform healthcare experiences across Nigeria, Egypt, and Senegal. With a deep passion for design thinking, strategic vision, and business growth, Ikenna has played a pivotal role in shaping fintech and digital payment solutions. So his expertise spans between enterprise technology, sales, UX UI design, product strategy. So that's about Ikenna Osueze. So now being sales, I feel like you have like a better edge on like when salespeople they overpromise clients. But I feel like you because you already have like a background in technology, you have a background in product, in design, so you're able to tell the client the right thing. So what is possible? I feel like that's like a very good edge for you amongst every other salesperson. When I heard that you transitioned to sales, I was like, and I'm happy that this conversation is coming up so that we get to know, okay, how it happened and what actually prompted you to have that career shift. So Ikenna, oh my God, I said I would not
Just
say Ikenna.
go with IK.
Ike.
Yeah.
You've had such a dynamic career from starting as a UX designer to being a product designer, and then to a senior product designer to head of and also design director. And now you're driving revenue at Fincra. Wow, that's really interesting. But before all this, before the wins, that is where you currently are. I feel like there were like probably some lessons that you had, right? So can you like tell me like a time when you thought that you had figured everything out? You thought you figured your life, like you feel you're good, this is where you're staying, and only for reality to prove otherwise, or everything just turned and you're wondering like I thought I figured out my life. So were there moments like that? Can you share that with us?
So moments where I felt like I had figured things out and then I was proven otherwise. Yes, I mean, I don't think there's anybody that would say that has not happened, you know. So I think a major one for me was sometime in 2018. So when I think about the time when I thought I figured things out, and then it turns out like it was a surprise. I'll say, yeah, I've had those kind of moments. A major one for me was initially when I started my career, or should I say, before I started my career, I was always of the
Yeah.
opinion that, I won't work for anybody. So I thought I had figured it all out. Before design, I was also working, like, I worked as a front end developer. I had the coding skills, I had the design skills, and in my head, I just thought, you know what, you will just go out there, you will build your own product, you will start your own company, and it's going to be smooth sailing, right? So this is something I really thought. There was where I never actually saw myself working a 9 to 5, right, or
Mm-hmm.
being not a business owner, you know. But then when I now got out there and got into the world, I saw that it was not as easy, you know, as I thought it was. There are some things that maybe back then when I was in school, you're working on a project, you're thinking it's so small scale until when you now go out in public and you realize that you thought you knew things, you didn't know anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The realization to just understand that there's a lot more that's involved in literally upskilling and growing, because I thought it was just going to be about having the skill. But then you now
Mm-hmm.
realize that the reason why they have cross-functional roles, for instance, compliance is a thing. So
Yeah.
if you think you're going to do anything in an industry and you don't have the knowledge about the industry to understand, okay, this is a regulated space, how you're going to operate in that space, it will just come as such a huge shock when you
Mm-hmm.
finish building out your amazing idea and you hear that you can't go live. Like, you can't even try it, right? So I think that was a very big point when I thought I had figured it out. I was like, oh, I'm going to start my own thing. And then the realization that that's
Mm-hmm.
not going to happen. And then also the realization, because it's not like I didn't start. I
Yeah.
started,
Yes,
right?
you did.
But it failed, out of money. I mean, it was fully self-funded anyways. But at the point I couldn't get contracts, I couldn't work on my own thing, because I just realized that there were some gaps that I had,
Mm-hmm.
gaps in understanding, gaps in knowing how to run a successful enterprise. So yeah, I think that was a major one, right, for me.
Wow, interesting. So I want us to like rewind a bit and based on just like what you shared, how you wanted to not like just have your own startup or probably have your own business. You don't want to work for people, and it turns out that when you got into the real world, basically it didn't work out. So I want us to like rewind to a moment where probably there's a season of your life that you actually on board, and maybe it could be like a project, it could be maybe a project went south, you didn't expect it to happen that way, or probably maybe it's a leadership decision that backfired, but probably you took like a decision probably when you were leading people and everything backfired, or your career move that didn't plan out really. So what happened, and when do you realize that okay, it has gotten to it, I don't know what to do, or this is really bad?
Okay. Okay. So a time when I felt like things were really bad,
Hmm.
right? I would say that was just before, that was like 2020 thereabouts, right? Yes. At that point in time, it was a period where I felt stuck,
Hmm.
right? I couldn't tell, was I moving forward? Was I going backwards? It just felt like, even in the design space, there are
Mm-hmm.
times when I see work and I used to feel like I know this, right? I can do this work. Or there are times when I would do something for myself as a personal project that would
Yeah.
be so amazing. But then when I
Mm-hmm.
now go to my actual 9 to 5, to the product that is being used by millions of people, right?
Yeah.
And I look at my delivery bar and I'm like, what is this? What's going on? I'm having that creative block. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
like, that was a very, very big moment for me, because I think it was a time when I actually questioned, do I want to
Yeah.
continue in design? Because it just felt like I'm working on things and it's just not translating to how I want it to look. Yeah, there's always that fight between design and the front end. That
Yes.
something good and front end has gone to cook
Mm-hmm.
their own beans, you know. But it's not necessarily that. There are times when I would even come and look at a flow, or I will have an engineer tell me that, oh, this flow could have been done this way. And then I look at it and I realize that yeah, he's actually right, or she's actually right. And then I now ask myself, so why did I not catch that? That was a better experience. So I went through a moment like that where I just said, you know what, is this really the space for me? You know, what is going on? Am I reaching like my limits? But that was way back then. That was like 2020.
So I feel like at those moments you'll be frustrated and you'll be like, can I just leave this thing? Can I just
Yeah.
move? Can I
And not to
can I
even
just
mention,
go? Is this really
yeah,
for me?
and the imposter syndrome, because at times you now wonder, like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Right? That you guys are paying me this, right?
Mm.
But I don't feel like I'm doing what, this amount. So yeah, I went through those times, to be very honest. And I think that is something that starts to happen in
Mm-hmm.
a designer's life. But I also believe that that is also a major stage for transformation. So that happens just before breakthrough occurs because if you permit me, should I speak on like how I was able to get over those kind of situations? Yes, you see, the thing is, that was a major point for me to realize that there's a lot more to design, right?
Mm.
Especially when it comes to product design. You see, we get so caught up in thinking of things from the point of view of, let me just say, sometimes we don't look beyond just the experience and the interface. I'm forgetting that, you see, when you're saying you're doing product design,
Yeah.
you need to understand every single aspect of it. It means when the market behaves in a certain way or when there's a certain trend, you understand what's going on, why it happened, you optimize for it, right? It means that when you think of the future, how should this shape out in 2 years, 3 years, that you have that thought process behind you. But most importantly, it means that the data of your users, because I realized that at a point I had been designing all that time without really going in depth to,
Mm-hmm.
what's the data behind people that use my system? Where do they actually get frustrated? Because sometimes you're designing and you're saying there's no increase in revenue. You are not really looking at those parts of the business, but as a product designer, you should. So I think one thing that really helped me then to get out of all of that was I started realizing that I had not even scratched the surface of design. As a designer, have you started measuring, the impact of what you do? Have you measured where the users get frustrated? Where do they have issues or rage events? So I have different tools I use to monitor my designs. You start to understand at that point in time that, okay, at what point in my funnel did you drop off? Why are you dropping off? Drilling in to understand just that particular moment. And what I just realized was that I had so much more to offer
Yeah.
beyond just saying, oh, I'm designing the screens and all. That was when I took real ownership of saying, I will take this product and I'll see it through to the end. And then once that ownership mindset came, and I stopped looking at what I was working on, I stopped looking at it as screens and experience. I started seeing it as this is my own, this is my baby, and I
Yeah.
would build it, right? So when that happened, I think it was just a major shift. I started learning a lot about data-driven design. I
Mm-hmm.
started learning. I think there was a point where, let me say, 2020 to 2021, that stretch of time, or even going into 2022, I did not actually do any courses in design. Right? What was I
Yeah.
learning? Data. How do I measure as a designer? How do I basically understand what my product is doing, right? The
Yeah.
metrics behind it, the information behind it. So yeah, I think that it just really helped a lot for me to basically transform and get out of that phase, right? And I would say that it has paid off today.
Yes,
So
I
yeah,
can. It's so obvious. It's evident that finally paid off.
yeah,
So I feel like sometimes I don't know what your thoughts are, but so when you were facing all this, because I know at some point in my career I was like, do I really want to do this? Like I felt frustrated and like, okay, but am I sure that I want to continue, or am I sure that tech is for me? But at some point, I had to reach out and talk to people, and someone they were able to like tell me some things, ask me some questions, why are you here, and all that. Were there times where probably you could not figure out things yourself? Were there people that you usually talk to about your life? Were there like somebody, probably a mentor, that you talk to about things? And do you feel like it's the best thing when you're facing that moment instead of you trying to walk alone? Do you think that yeah, I should talk to a mentor or talk to somebody? So what are your thoughts?
yeah. So I feel like people underplay the importance of relationships a lot.
Mm,
A valuable relationship can be more transformational in your life than
yes.
any other thing that you can accomplish on your own, right?
Mm,
Do I have people that, I used to speak to? Percent. I had
mm,
people who were fellow designers like me, right? Where we were figuring things out, understanding the space, and growing together, right? And I can see that there are times when I feel weighed down, right? One of my friends, Josh, he's the one who would, hey, how can you be weighed down? Lift me back up, and vice versa. So times when he will say, I'm not doing this again. I'm tired. I want to delete Figma. Say delete what? Install that in back. In fact, you know what? Install XD2. Let's do this, right? So yeah, I feel that relationships is something that you should not play with. I did have mentors as well, right? So I had the person who initially brought me into design, right? And he has been like a role model all this time. So I look at his growth, I look at where he is, and what he's accomplished now. He too has transitioned from
wow.
being a designer to essentially leading his own company, has a successful product, right? Is doing really well and everything. Also, just watching that transformation and speaking with him when I get blocked and everything has helped me so much, right? So yeah, I do have somebody I speak to both on the mentorship side of things, and then also even I have friends in this community. I have friends in the design space that we carry each other along essentially. So yeah, I think it's very key.
That's really interesting to know. Valuing relationship. I think one of the things that I learned is that when you have good relationship, or probably you have relationship with some people that have been where you currently are, they kind of guide you not to make the same mistake. So just imagine right now you are a mentor to somebody and the person is in design and the person wants to cross over to maybe not necessarily sales, or the person wants to cross over to another industry entirely, probably not even tech. But just picture, just see yourself like a mentor that wants to guide maybe aspiring techies or aspiring tech people, and they want to cross from product design to another part entirely. What's that one word like you would tell them?
So let me just say it right and everything. Literally. I mean, now this might be a biased opinion because I'm
Mm-hmm.
a designer, but I think that everything in life is design. Positioning somewhere else is you just bringing your design expertise into that new role. And guess what? You will thrive there. So let's take, for instance, now, let's say you're in design and you transition to sales, right? Guess what? Sometimes more often than not, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sales guy is not actually familiar with the intricacies of the product, the way the
Yeah.
product design guy is, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody that would sell your product better than somebody that is used to the product. And you know
Yeah.
who else is used to the product? The person that designed it, right? So I would always say that, and that's just one assumption. Now, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what you want to do, even if let's say um, you're in design and suddenly you want to move to a non-tech role, compliance, right?
Mm.
And compliance is all about ensuring that businesses are operating within the regulators framework, right? And all. But guess what? You moving from design to compliance could ensure that you take away the stigma of, oh, compliance is so strict. But instead, you can still stay compliant, but you tailor it in such a way that the experience just feels beautiful, right? People don't really realize that, oh, they're still sticking with everything the regulators have set out or the regulators have said, just because of how you have presented it to them. So you can tell that, like, even if you were to move from, let's say, even a design to a customer success role, right, it's the same thing. You will understand better, okay, the amount of empathy you put into your work,
Yeah.
trying to put yourself in the shoes of your users. Imagine you now translate it to the point of customer success. You will thrive. So I
Yeah.
would always say that if you're coming from a design background, personally, I think you have the best edge in the world, right? Like you literally have the best edge ever. Because no matter what you want to do, design ties into it. Like there's no industry you can think of that you can say there's no design at play. None. Like none whatsoever. Right. So I would always say that, yeah, at the end of the day, right, if you wanted to move from design to another role, go for it. Trust me, your design skills are one of the best things that you can leverage on in life, no matter
Yeah.
what you do. So yeah, so all I can just say to anybody in that headspace is please go for it, right?
Go for it.
And if you have any challenges, come and talk to me. I will tell you, no matter what it is you want to do, I will tell you how design will help, right?
Mhm.
That's all I want to be doing right now, you know. So yeah,
I feel like it works the same for product managers and probably software engineers because they already understand the product system, how products are being launched and all that. Because I've had times where salespeople, oh my god, or business development people, they tend to over promise the clients. Then when they now bring it to developers are now wondering, okay, what did you tell the client that this is actually not possible? Sometimes we have to think about outside the box and say, how can we? But I feel like I said earlier, that you having a background in design is actually a competitive edge for you. So that will lead me to my question on sales and design. I believe that most people see design and sales as two different words, but somehow you've moved from design or development to sales.
yeah.
So, and you've managed to bridge both of them seamlessly. So, how does your background in design influence your approach to sales and business growth at your organization?
So it looks mad. You move from design to sales. And then you do not just move to sales like to start it, but you move to sales at a relatively high level, right?
Yeah,
And yet I have not suffered in it, but I've thrived, or I believe that at least by KPIs and metrics, right?
yeah,
It's not doing badly in any way, shape, or form, right?
yeah,
Now, design play a role, I would say 100%. Now, the very first thing that I would say that design did in order to facilitate this move is that I could understand how to make a process seamless. You see,
yeah,
the reason why a lot of companies struggle, even when it comes to the sales pipeline, and closing deals and the like, is just because their process is broken. It's boring. It's not engaging. In fact, you might even have a sales process that is designed, you know, to make you suffer or to make you not close deals, right? However, coming in from a designer's perspective, I could come in, I had a bird's eye view of everything, and I could already tell that, this will be a pain point for our customers, right?
yeah,
This other place is going to be a point of frustration. So I could just
mm,
look at our entire sales funnel and I could already tell, what has to go. It's the same principle of, let's say you're designing now and you're designing for um, maybe an e-commerce site. And then when somebody lands on your e-commerce site, the first thing that you show them is sign up instead of them to actually see the products, get interest, add to cart, and then you could even allow them check out as a guest, right? Or ask for the payments or ask for them to sign up at the point of payment when you've confirmed their intent, right? So using that same logic, you see how a designer will look at it and could tell immediately that no, I don't need this sign up page at the front. Bring it up later. That was the same thing that happened in sales, right? So I could just look at it and I could tell that, you know what, maybe this process we want to do at the start, bad decision. Let's move it from here and bring it towards the end. And you just notice that the drop off, like you can measure your drop off rate and you can see that you've had like a 70% reduction in churn, right? Simply because you made a few decisions. But guess
yeah,
what? There were people who had been operating in that space before you
mm-hmm,
came in. So what made the difference? It's not your sales skills. It was your
mm,
design skills. So that is literally how it has played out. In simple terms, what really are you doing in design? You just solve problems. That's what a designer does. All you just do is solve problems. So that's what I'll say a designer does. So even when you move to another industry or you move to another team, like me moving to sales, right, and all I just did was come in and solve the problems within sales. And those problems could only be solved because of the design knowledge.
wow, wow.
So yeah.
It's been such an interesting time.
Yeah.
I believe that everyone watching this has been able to pick one thing or the other. So I would like to say, I know that um, throughout your career journey from being a UX designer to now becoming SVP sales at Fincra, it's a big deal. So I would like you to say a lesson that you've learned across the journey, then a motivation, like sharing a motivation because of that decision from that. Okay, before that, I would like to ask what really like shifted what like I feel like the audacity like to move from product design to sales really
Audacity.
it's really I feel like it's an audacity. It takes someone with audacity to actually take that switch. So what was that point like you like sales I'm going to sales and that's what I want to do with my life, not like you're done with design like you said, but what was that switch like what really happened, let me use that word, what really happened, how did it happen really, I really want to know, like I'm interested in this. I've been waiting for this day and finally the day is here.
Okay, okay. So, I know some people have told me that I'm mad. I actually have some people that told me that I'm mad for this, right? But just be very direct.
Yeah.
What really happened is just, I would say that be in a place you believe in.
Mm,
That's right. So I think it's a point of privilege for me,
yeah.
but I'm in a place that I truly believe in. I believe I got to the point where, I want to be a part of this, right, of what we're basically doing, right? And when I realized I wanted to be part of it, I realized that I didn't want to be at the back, I didn't want to be in the back office getting it done. I wanted to be out there, because I believe in this fully.
Yeah.
And I want to be the person telling others, about this dream I believe in, so that played a role. Like that played a very big role, actually. And then I think another thing that played a role for me is the fact that I love design. But I've always, I believe that design is a means to an end. It solves a problem.
Hey there, I am Folashide Adebite, a product designer, a mentor, and your host on Tech Tales with Fola. Tech Tales with Fola isn't just another podcast. It's a space where we have insightful and inspiring conversation about tech, about career growth, and the future of work. So whether you are just starting out or looking to buy or already thriving in tech, this podcast is for you. So every episode, I'll be bringing in industry experts, innovators, and trailblazers who will share their journeys, their struggles, and their win, giving you the blueprints to navigate your own tech career. We'll talk about everything from breaking into tech, into personal branding, networking, career transitions, to imposter syndrome, and what's next in the ever evolving world of technology. So if you've ever wondered how to go from zero to tech hero, or probably how to build a standard career, or even how to future proof your skill, then you are in the right space. New episode drops bi-weekly, so make sure to subscribe, follow, and turn on notifications so that you will never miss out. Welcome officially to Tech Tail with Fola.
That means that, even when you look at design itself, right, where is it solving the problem? It might be solving the problem in marketing, through a brand, right, through brand design and all. It will be solving a problem in the product, right, or in engineering through product
Yeah,
design. And then it could solve so many problems. Your illustrations could, or your graphics could solve the problem of even telling your story. I've always felt like design is solving a problem. So
yeah.
when everybody sees it as, oh, you left design to sales, I don't see it
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Mm-hmm.
Design is 100% at play. Like if you came
Yeah.
into my sales team today, you will see it with your own eyes.
Wow.
Everything in that team is by design. Every
Yeah.
single process is by design, right? Everything we do in Fincra, right, in sales is by design, right? So essentially that's it. So what I'm just doing right now is I'm solving the problem of revenue,
Yeah.
right, through design. So that was it. So I did not see it as everybody says you left design. I never left design, right? You know, now I'm just designing for the sales team. That's pretty much it, right? So yeah.
So I'll just say SVP sales and design. Like just put it together. It's not just what they are doing, you're also doing like design.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I believe everybody should be a designer. Everybody should be a designer.
yeah.
Right. So yeah. So
I,
that's
I
it.
really want to say thank you for keeping it real. It's been an insightful conversation, really. And before we wrap up, and before you give like your final words, I would like to do like a short, just like something very short. So the
Okay.
game is it's you would say like a common. I'm going to say like a common mistake tech professional make, and they're going to give me like a one line response to it on how they can recover from it. So I'm saying like a sentence of something that tech professionals make. Then you're giving me like a one say like probably one line word or no probably yeah one line word or sentence to answer it. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Oh yeah. Let's
Okay.
go. Bring it.
So one of mistakes I believe that tech professional makes is over complicating a simple solution. So what's like your own response to that?
It's I think it's really good.
When they overcomplicate a simple solution, something that is very simple, but they overcomplicate it. What would be your own advice to recover from that?
So my advice to recover for it will just be keep it simple. Actually, this is a full word. Actually, keep it simple, stupid. I think it's a UX book. And I remember that there
Mm,
was a time when I was on my binge reading spree. I actually think that, yes, I believe that that's the name of the book. Right. Keep it simple, stupid. Right. Yeah. So I know that, yeah, KISS, that's what it's
yeah,
called. Okay, it was from Interaction Design
yeah,
Foundation.
yeah.
I knew that I'd done something related to it. Right. So it's called the KISS principle. So yeah, that's the one advice I'll have for you. Right.
Wow.
Keep it simple,
Okay,
stupid.
so what about when they get to ignore customer feedback until it's too late? How do we recover from that?
Right.
Uh-huh.
I would say that I think what I would even say now would be the answer to any problem. And the answer
Mm-hmm.
is create a process.
Yeah,
That's it. So you ignore customer feedback, just create a process for it. And that your process will ensure that, customer feedback, there's a process for handling it, for getting it into development, for designing it, and for rolling it out, for alerting the customer. So whatever problem you actually have, create a process for it. Fire down, give me more problems. Let me see whether create a process for it to actually
no,
work.
no, don't worry. What about thinking great design alone makes a product successful?
So process will not solve it. I are smart. Okay. Thinking great design alone
Mm-hmm.
makes a product successful. I would say that, yeah. Now, the great design,
Mm-hmm.
but a problem with that term is that it's so broad, right?
Yeah,
Now, if you're saying a great, product design, like just the interface and the experience
mm-hmm.
successfully alone, right? Then I don't think it will, right? Because there are so many other things involved in getting a product into the hands of a user. So, for
Yeah,
instance, now there might be an onboarding phase, an onboarding period that
yeah,
you may not necessarily control. Maybe it's done by the back office,
yeah,
or maybe there are some legal things involved, and the like, right? Or for instance, now it might even be the customer support, right, which you don't control. Yeah, you may have designed the most beautiful app in the world, but guess what? Maybe you have nothing to do with when something breaks and they try to reach support. So would great design alone, in terms of aesthetics and experience, make a product successful? The answer is
yeah,
no. However, remember what I told you earlier, that design solves problems. That's all it does, right?
yeah.
So if you no longer now make it just a product design thing, but would great design make a product successful, meaning that the design of your customer service, right? The design of your support structure, design of the processes that guide everything you do as a company. Would it make a product successful? Yes.
Even with the game, you're able to pass
I don't know
insight.
what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking I don't know what you're Please.
Before you share your like final words or sum up like today's conversation, if people want to connect with you,
Yeah.
where can they connect with you? Do you want to share that with us?
I mean, the easiest way is always like there's LinkedIn, right?
From
Yes.
okay, wow. So your final words, if you had to like sum up like today's conversation, probably in a tweet or in LinkedIn post, what would you say to the audience? So in summary,
Question. Right. In summary, I would say first things first. be a designer, because everything in life is by design, right? Like, even if you want to take it to the beginning, right? Whichever way you swing. So if you swing towards the Big Bang, or even if you swing towards the story of creation, right? Everything is still by design, right? Something happened, and there was always a design to it, right? The earth is spinning by design. Like, I cannot say it enough. Be a designer, right? If you're starting your tech career today, you don't know what to do, just do design. I'm telling you, like, it's the place to be. It's the best place to be. So all the front end engineers out there, please do design also. Stop frustrating our lives, right? Do design as well. You know, if you're in back end, I won't beg you more to please do design, right? But like, on a more serious note, though, I would say that if I was to wrap up everything, I'll say that regardless of what you are doing, the principles of design is actually key to every area in life. So the principles like understanding the user, understanding your market, understanding the thinking behind it, design thinking essentially, right, is key to success. Regardless of what you do, I would say that these are some foundational skills that you should have and you should master. 100%. You should. You should learn those skills, right? And when you learn
Yeah.
those skills, also don't forget to read. Read like your life depends on it, because it actually
Mm-hmm.
does. The difference between even maybe where I was 3 months ago and where I am
Mm-hmm.
now is just the books I've read, right? And then the third thing, leverage AI. I'm an advocate for it. I believe in it. I believe it's going to change the world, because this is its foundation. This is the start. People don't have an idea how crazy this is going to get or how big this is going to be. But leverage it like your life depends on it, right? Master it, understand it, know how to prompt it, know how to work with it, right? You know, and just watch your productivity. So that is me wrapping up in a tweet, although that will not be in a tweet because it's too long.
Yeah, on LinkedIn post. I feel like the LinkedIn post.
Oh, I thought I said I'm always on LinkedIn. I actually don't post on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'll probably start using it more this year,
I'm
but
looking forward to your
I'm always
post anyway.
yeah,
Oh wow, wow. Okay, this has really been an insightful conversation, and thank you for keeping it real and sharing your
yeah,
journey with us. It has been really a
yeah,
great
well,
time. And for everyone watching, I would say that failure is not the end. Remember that failure is part of your process. It helps you get better in your journey. So don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to transition to that path you want to go through. So learn from your mistakes, grow from it, and keep moving forward. And if you love this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, leave a review. Until next time, see you. Bye.